Remember the 5th of November. There's a famous saying over in England dealing with the so-called gunpowder plot, where the Catholics decided to try to blow up Parliament. Well, we don't exactly have that here in the United States, but what we do have is major changes coming, potentially with the United States Supreme Court, in the immediate future, because there now appears to be discussion among Democratic senators on Capitol Hill right now about whether or not an effort should be made to push aside Supreme Court Justice, the first ever Latina on the Supreme Court, Justice Sonia Sotomayor. Push her aside, get her to leave the bench so they can be replaced, or she can be replaced by a younger justice. Let's talk about what the Democrats are plotting right now on the eve of Donald Trump's inauguration. Hey folks, I'm Mark Smith, host of the Four Boxes Diner, proud American gun owner, constitutional attorney, member of the United States Supreme Court Bar, and author of the new law review article I want you all to check out. It's free, down below in the description of this video. An article I just wrote about how to apply the Second Amendment and the Bruin methodology to Second Amendment litigations. It's a very detailed, geeky, scholarly piece in the Georgetown Journal of Law and Public Policy. Just came out. I wrote it in February. I told you it was going to summarize so you all knew exactly how to argue these cases dealing with sensitive places, to gun bans, to age, and so on. This article tries to lay it all out in one place for your benefit. So check out the link below to the Georgetown Journal of Law and Public Policy, an excellent prestigious journal associated with the Georgetown School of Law. All right, folks, so major breaking news. It turns out, according to reporting in the Daily Beast, I'll put a link to the Daily Beast article down below, the Democrats on Capitol Hill are at war now over whether or not they should try to push aside and get off the United States Supreme Court current Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor, who, as you know, has been a 100% liberal vote, totally reliable liberal vote on all issues. In particular, the right to keep and bear arms, i.e. she finds and concludes there is no right to keep and bear arms. But she is facing pressure to resign now. As you may recall from prior videos, I explained to you that Justice Sonia Sotomayor is 70 years of age and suffers from type 1 diabetes. We wish her well. We hope she lives a long life. Nevertheless, the Democrats are very worried that they may face what they call the RGB situation, where Ruth Bader Ginsburg died on the eve of the 2020 election and was replaced by Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who in turn voted for Bruin and to overturn Roe v. Wade in the Dobbs decision, among other things. So anyway, now we are getting reporting by the Daily Beast that several senators are now starting to talk about whether or not they have enough time between now and the creation of or the seating of the new Congress and the inauguration of President Trump to get Justice Sonia Sotomayor to step aside and replace her with a younger liberal justice. Now, there's a lot of concern here and problems for the Democrats, one of which is there's two senators right now that might not be keen on this idea. One, obviously, is West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin. He might not go along with this idea. He's leaving the Senate. In many respects, he has the views of a Republican. Nevertheless, he's leaving the Senate, and he'd have to go along with it, right? Also, of course, we know that they may not have the support of two Republican senators, such as Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins. And, of course, you have Kristen Sinema out there in Arizona that also needs to be considered. Beyond that, you also have this concern among Democrats that if they are perceived to be shoving out a woman, the first ever Latina on the Supreme Court, who is a reliable liberal vote, how will that look to their constituents? How will that look to the Democratic base to force the first ever Latina justice to step down because of a Democratic power play? And there's also concern among the ableist community, which is the community that's concerned about handicapped people and people that have, various health and other issues. There's concern among the ableist community, which I think is what is now called, about whether or not, how would that look to force someone who has a health condition, i.e. diabetes, to have to step aside because there's concern about what might happen to them. How would that look for the Democratic Party? But of course, there's a more practical consideration is, how would you get this done? There's only about 60 to 70 days between today and a possible date you'd have to vote on the replacement in the U.S. Senate. Keep in mind that Joe Biden would have to make this decision. He's the one that would have to nominate the justice. And again, you may run out of time. You know, some people, according to this article, say, according to an unnamed Democratic senator, what happens if Justice Sotomayor resigns and the nominee to replace her is not confirmed, and then the next president fills the vacancy? In other words, if she resigns and they don't fill the seat, Donald Trump would have the opportunity to fill that vacancy potentially. And that is an issue that one Democratic senator raised according to this Daily Beast article. Somebody else, of course, pointed out that, quote, how dare they suggest pushing the first Latina justice, a solid progressive vote, off the bench. Now, I should note, I think if Justice Sonia Sotomayor wanted to leave the bench and had these political considerations, I think she would have already done it. She's not stupid. She understands the political dynamics here. She knew that Donald Trump could win the White House. So if she were truly concerned, she could have stepped aside this spring, and the Democrats would have had from June of 2024 through today to nominate her successor and get that person confirmed. But now, after the election, if the Democrats, play this game, it will be a naked power play for all to see, and a lot of people will get extra angry at the Democrats, and maybe that won't matter to the radical base, but it certainly might matter to some of those swing voters to play these kinds of games. And again, it may not even work because there's some Democrats who are going to be up for election in a couple years in states that are, fuzzy, like Georgia, for example. They might not want to go along with this because this might come back and bite them on the Duped and get them kicked out of office from 2 years. One just doesn't know. As I've always said, the history of the future has yet to be written. But nevertheless, I want you to be aware of this potential plot among Democratic senators about whether or not to shove off the bench Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor, which she's terrible on guns, 100% terrible on guns, but the reality is all they would do is they put on a much younger person that would be equally terrible on guns. We're not going to get anybody good on guns nominated to the federal bench by the Democrats. They only pick left-wing judicial activists that are always going to rubber stamp the policies of left-wing politicians. That's just as a practical matter. We see that all around the country. And again, it's because the Democrats and the liberals view the role of judges to advance the progressive agenda. All right, folks, well, we'll keep you apprised if there's further developments in the shoving of Justice Sotomayor off the Supreme Court by Democrats in Congress. At the end of the day, it's going to be her decision. I'm guessing she's not going anywhere because if she wanted to go somewhere, she could have already done it, and she didn't. She's going to stick around as my guess, but you need to at least know about the story because this is a big deal if the Democrats try to pull this off. All right, folks, hope you learned something here today. Make sure you follow me on X at 4Boxes Diner. Please subscribe to this channel. We're trying to get to 200,000 subscribers. Don't forget to like this video and share it, and we will talk to you again very soon here at the 4Boxes Diner.
Orders up. Table 2A.